The holidays are a great time to actually get rich, but you know what most people do? They're gonna recklessly spend their money so that they start next year deeply in debt and already starting from behind. And this year, the spending is going to reach an all-time high of nearly $1 trillion. My name is Kris Krohn. I help people get rich by actually making superior financial choices. I'm gonna share during this holiday season what some of them are right now. Let's talk about two very stupid ways to spend money during the holidays. Either people have the money disorder of being reckless spenders, where they're like, okay, we're gonna buy all these gifts, we're gonna pay for this, we're gonna take this trip, and basically we're out of money, we're gonna go into debt. The second group of people are the people that are really fiscally responsible, they're penny pinchers, so they usually don't blow their money, but they're also doing something really stupid. They're saving money. And the reason why both of these are bad is because whether you're an extreme saver that is never investing or you're reckless with your money, you still don't have any money to be able to invest with. The real solution during the holidays of actually getting ahead is actually becoming an investor. And I'll share with you a little bit of my story on how I literally started with nothing and became a multimillionaire by my mid-20s. But let's talk about holiday spending. It's pretty crazy. Any dollar spent today is a lost opportunity to earn as much as 5% or even more in savings accounts or certificates of deposits and bonds. By the way, 5% is never gonna make you rich, but it does get you thinking different with the fact that inflation has been hovering around 3, 4, 5, 6%. It's like, shoot, if my money isn't even earning 5%, I'm just breaking even. You should be thinking that way, but most people don't. Higher rates also make it significantly more expensive for people to spend money that they don't have. And with the annual interest rates on some credit cards pushing up to mid-20s or even 30%, it's kind of crazy that people will do that. You got to get out of that kind of consumer credit card debt as fast as you possibly can. Despite the incentives to spend less last year, Americans are expected to keep going. The National Retail Federation forecasts that holiday spending will grow between 3 to 4% from last year and basically hit as much as $966.6 billion. That's just shy of $1 trillion. The holiday season in America is definitely one giant spending feast, as the months of November and December can really account for as much as 30% of a brand sales. The average amount of holiday expense debt, by the way, is expected to be around $1,100 in 2023, which really brings up, what should you be doing with your money instead? Like, where should you be putting your money? For me, I tell people that you're always gonna be in the rat race unless you learn to save money for investing. How much should a person be saving? You should be saving at least 20% of the money you make. Well, listen, before you invest it, there are a couple of places where you can put it. Accounts such as CDs or certificate of deposits, high yield savings accounts, life insurance policies, those are great places for savings because you can usually at least produce a 4, 5, or 6% annual ROI. Again, you're not gonna get rich because 401ks and IRAs average about 6%, and we know that $50,000 in those accounts over 20 years based on their track record basically triples. 50K becomes $160,000. So again, it's kind of the reason why people get to that age of 65 and average $256,000 for retirement. But at that point in their life, they're used to spending about $80,000 to $90,000 a year. So they really only have 3 years worth of money before they run out. So when we're saying put your money in CDs or life insurance policies where you can earn 5 or 6%, that's not investing. That's not to get rich quick. That's where you're gonna stash your cash until you're ready to deploy the money. For example, let's take the median annual income. It's hovering right around $57,406. If you were saving 20% of that, you'd be saving $11,481 a year. And it begs the question, Kris, what should I invest that in? Well, as you know, I actually believe that the foundation of wealth is what 90% of Americans do for building wealth. And that game is called real estate. For example, check it out. My first year as a college kid working full-time in telemarketing, I made $18,700. And by the way, I did not like the job. The job was hard, and it was more money than I had ever made before, being in my early 20s. But at the same time, there was no money left over because I was paying for tuition. I had actually gotten married young, so my wife and I were just trying to cover rent. I had just bought her a ring. We had just bought this really crappy, like 1980 whatever, Justy Subaru. I'm 6'4", I do not fit in the car. But after 14 months of hardcore saving, I put $5,000 in the bank account. And I found this house that was valued at $150,000. I got it under contract for $110,000, so $40,000 below market. And all I needed to buy the house was a 3% down payment. which on $110,000, 3%, that's $3,300. So I had $5,000 in the bank, I used $3,300 and basically leveraged myself into this home with $40,000 of equity. Here's what was special about that first house. It had a basement apartment, I rented it out, the basement covered my mortgage. So basically my wife and I lived upstairs in the 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom portion for free. 12 months later, I went back to the bank, I got a home equity line of credit, and I said, bank, there's some equity in this home, can we pull some out? And they gave me a line of credit for $18,900. And I found another house that was worth $210,000. I got it under contract for $150,000, and I let the first house line of credit basically become the down payment for the second house. When I bought that house, I rented it out, and I made $600 a month. So on the first house, I'm living for free. The second house, I'm making $600 a month. And because that was so awesome, I used the second house to buy a third house. And if you fast forward a couple years later, I had 25 properties. That's what I did with 25 properties producing $12,000 a month. Now here's the cool part. The strategy that I used then is the same strategy available today. Obviously, real estate's become more expensive and salaries have gone up some, but I want you to get this. My very first house ended up buying my second house, not me. Now listen, I know I'm going fast, I'm talking about ROIs and real estate and things like that, but I've got the ultimate cheat sheet below. Just click the link and let me show you for free how you can access my system on how I built all of this wealth and became financially free in my mid-20s. So it was interesting for Connie and I when we first got married because I was reflecting on my parents and she was reflecting on her parents. My parents never had money because they were those erratic spenders, and that's when I learned that you can always be behind the 8 ball, you can always be in debt, and you can have arguments and fights with your spouse about not getting ahead. My wife's parents, on the other hand, they were super penny pinchers, and they always had this adage, we have money because we don't spend money. And I also saw the impact of that, and I wanted to become an investor middle of the lane. But in my first 5 years of marriage, Glenn and I created an agreement. It was called KPPPM. Glenn's Parents Penny Pinching Month. When they were young, they had these epic stories of how poor they were and how they had no money, and we just said, let's emulate that, but for investing, not saving. And we would literally take $20, and that was our spending budget on fun for the entire month. Other than that, everything went into savings because we made this decision. We're not gonna own a single luxury anything until we've made it and we're financially independent. And that's exactly what we did. So that meant that our first Christmases, our holidays were very frugal in the beginning. We're talking about handmade cards and spending very little amounts of money. But instead of feeling poor and impoverished, in fear and scarcity, we felt good because it was a strategy. And that strategy was designed to pull us ahead. There definitely was pressure when we started buying real estate and making more money to level up our life, but we refused. Like, I remember we had some close friends that bought this beautiful house on the hill, gorgeous view, and I had bought this tiny little bungalow property that we were living in. And I remember thinking, I could have afforded that house, but we are not intentionally doing that right now. Like, we are investing and we are financially pulling ahead. Fast forward 5 years, and we were in a position where we could build our custom 10,000 square foot house right on the golf course outside of Sundance. And that was right after college. And so delaying gratification was something that we got used to in the beginning, which meant during the holidays, it wasn't about how nice of a gift you could buy someone. It was more about, hey, don't forget the strategy. Let's make memories. And memories don't always take money. It takes resourcefulness and it takes creativity. There can definitely be a ton of pressure to want to put out some serious money for a loved one. Before the holidays come around, have a conversation together and create an agreement, form an agreement on what you're gonna do this holiday season. And you may wanna choose to focus more on something sentimental. You may wanna focus on something that you can make, or maybe it's more about the thoughtfulness of the gift rather than how expensive it is. I mean, let's face it, you could have mediocre Christmases for the rest of your life, or you could decide that the next 5 ones, you're going to kind of keep it on the DL, but then every Christmas after that, imagine what you can do. Because my wife and I, last year, we took the private jet with our kids to Leavenworth and Washington and enjoyed the Christmas scene there. I mean, we've had some amazing epic Christmases since then, but it all started because we delayed gratification and we played the game of wealth rather than the game of spending or the game of saving. Real estate is not the only financial game I play, but I started buying a lot of real estate, and then I started buying businesses and owning businesses. And just like I learned to buy real estate with little to no money, I learned to buy businesses with little to no money. And ultimately, I developed a strategy on how anyone can become super wealthy. not just a basic multimillionaire, but we're talking worth tens of millions of dollars or literally hundreds of millions of dollars. And if you want all of that information, that blueprint for free, it's in a brand new book that I created called Have It All, and I'd like to give it to you. All you need to do is click the link below, and once you go there, all you're gonna do is cover the shipping of the book. The full color spread of the hard book itself, I'm gonna put in the mail, I'm gonna give to you, and it'll even give you immediate digital access so you can dive right in right now, and I can start showing you the ultimate blueprint on how I went from nobody to somebody, how you can go from literally nothing to the most amazing net worth. Kris, what if I don't wanna take years to build wealth in the game of real estate? Is there a way for me to go faster and literally get rich before the holidays, or at least before the next holidays? Yeah, in real estate, that game is called wholesaling. And if you don't know what that is, you can create insane wealth in a very short period of time. Click right here, watch this video, let me show you.